President Sullivan? Huh?
I don't have any further questions. I'll wait till the medication fee comes up.
Okay, did I get to your question, I guess?
Yeah, a little further than I was going to go.
Okay. If I don't go far enough, let me know. People let me know when I go too far, I can tell you.
You know, I will say it's hard for me to answer those questions because that was, you know, that's been several years, and I just want to make sure that I know what questions being asked. But I will also say that, you know, the future is still ahead of us. We have opportunities to reform and save going forward. And, you know, I think it's very important in this session for that $54 million of state funds, action is going to have to be taken, but also, I mean, there may be an opportunity to, you know, I know the Stephen Group had proposed, you know, some very large numbers. I mean, I think there are some ideas out there. It just requires action ultimately. To,
the problem that we're getting into a budget, and I mean, this is kind of a separate thing of why I felt like if you look at this big sheet right here, and as you mentioned earlier, and I mentioned earlier, DHS is overwhelmingly the biggest hog at the trough of spending increases in state government. That if you look at the bottom figures, the general revenue growth that is being projected, and if you look at Arkansas real GDP growth, and I'm more than happy to get you the explanation of where they got that, we are continually, and that's why we're having the issue of the train wreck, that we're seeing that we're not meeting projections is, as I kept saying, your spending target was too high. I mean, in the last few years, you know, the real Arkansas GDP growth was growing, was slower or even stagnant the year before, but yet we're having state government spending increases of over 2.5%. So we're spending more as a state government than our economy is producing.
I don't really know, is that a...
Well, I'm just saying, that's one of the concerns that I have, that as a state, we are spending more money as a state than Arkansas real GDP growth is growing, and yet, what's the biggest component of our growth? It's DHS and Medicaid. So this thing of, we're saying that we're cost curves and we're cutting in Medicaid, we're really not. We're just spending less than you think you were going to spend. And that is why we are going to continually, that's why we're in the financial shape we are. And if you look at the second year, I think you guys have presented, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've got a 5% growth in Medicaid and a 4% growth in state, or what the state revenue growth is going to be. Is that right? A 4% growth the next year is what your estimate? I mean, if you need to come back or email me the questions, I'm more than happy. I know that's kind of...
Yeah, I can get you those numbers. I've got a revenue stabilization here.
Well, we can, I know you've got to go, and so that's just another question that we could come back and after the first of the year, but there's a danger that this state has went on that is catching up to us. And the other thing that I'm going to say is, the biggest thing that is hurting our economy is, and I mean, I know we've had the other side, have been chairs that support Medicaid expansion, and they've had consultants, and I've been against all along. And, you know, so this is a platform of our side to maybe get our chance to say something after the mountain of things that the other pro side has had for Medicaid expansion. But the biggest thing that's hurting our revenue growth, if you look at sales tax projections while they're not hitting, is that we've created a program just exactly like we said, that disincentivizes people to work. I mean, if you look at the mountain of people that we have on this program that we have disincentivized to work, it's less sales tax revenue. Let me add up, I know you're from Northwest Arkansas, let me show you. If you take the population of Fayetteville, Springdale, Rogers, Bentonville, Bella Vista, Silent Springs, Centerton, Lowell, Farmington, I'm not done, Prairie Grove, Gentry, Elkins, Little Flock, Tawnytown, Gravette, West Fork, and Lincoln would total up what the population is to how many people we have on Obamacare. Well, of these people, you know there's income limits. If you work 30 hours a week at minimum wage, you don't qualify for this program. If you look at the 300 and something thousand people on it, almost half are on $0 income. So if you took those cities that I mentioned, or if you looked at northeast Arkansas, let me say this: Craighead County, Greene County, Mississippi County, Poinsett County, Randolph County, Sharp, Lawrence, Clay, Izard, Fulton, and Stone. So essentially northeast Arkansas. And you take, if you looked at the average income, median income for those counties and cities, and you move that down to $4,000 or $5,000, which is probably somewhere around, naturally, somebody spending $4,000 or $5,000 a year is going to spend less than someone making $30,000. So that's why our sales tax revenue is suffering here in Arkansas, is because we've created this big program that affects so many people. And, you know, if they get jobs and go off the program, well, our sales tax revenues will be higher. I know you're the budget person, but I'm just saying, you have to make the numbers work. And the thing that no one's looked in this private option Medicaid expansion is that we have disincentivized so many people to work that it is hurting our sales tax revenue.